Chapter 21. A large number of students had already gathered on the training field. The front row was occupied by the members of the Xuan gang. Each of them had their arms crossed in front of their chests. Their bodies were emitting a powerful aura, making people not dare to approach them. They were playing to gain the upper hand with a show of strength. Before the competition even started, they had already made their opponents tremble in fear. However, to their disappointment, after the aura dissipated for a long time, they still didn't see Lai Yunxiao's figure. On the other hand, the members of the Xuan gang were all sweating from exhaustion. That brat, is he not coming? It's normal if he doesn't come. Losing face is better than losing his life. The crowd began to discuss among themselves, cursing Lai Yunxiao in their hearts. They had been fooled. Lan Xuan's face was also a little green. He sat on the training field and listened to everyone's discussion. He simply closed his eyes and waited. Fatty Han, do you think Lai Yunxiao will come? Qin Ruxu was also very nervous. She hoped that he would come, but also hoped that he wouldn't. I don't know. I haven't seen him for the past few days. Did he run away? Han Bai suddenly thought of this possibility and said with some surprise. Chen Zhen was also stunned for a moment. Then he shook his head like a rattled drum. Impossible. If that's really the case, then he doesn't deserve to be the successor of the Lai family. He doesn't deserve us to follow him. A man can kneel and die, but he can't endure humiliation and live. Qin Ruxu was annoyed and said angrily, "What live and die? Speak nicely." Look, that trash is here. Just when everyone was about to lose their patience, a voice rang out. Everyone quickly turned their heads and saw that 100 meters away, under the statue of Emperor Wu Gu Feiyang, a green robe was completely enveloped in the light of the rising sun. He was leisurely looking at the scenery as if he was on an outing. He even seemed to be humming a tune. Wow, he really dared to come. What a hero! Ha, no brains. He only relied on his stupidity. Today, he's going to be stupid. Lan Xuan is a peak 9 stars martial artist. How many moves do you think he can take? How many moves? Haha, if he doesn't die in one move, then he's amazing. The originally crowded martial arts practice field parted to the sides, creating a path for him. Most people had a look of schadenfreude on their faces as if they were watching a good show. Get out of my way. Qin Ruxu angrily squeezed out of the crowd and rushed in front of Lai Yunxiao. You fool, why did you really come here? Hurry up and go back, he will kill you. Chen Zhen also squeezed out. Young Master Yun, what exactly are you thinking? Lai Yunxiao felt warmth in his heart. Only these few friends cared about him. Suddenly, a silhouette appeared in front of him, and Luo Yunshang said angrily, Get lost, don't mess around, I now announce that the duel is cancelled. What? Cancel? Everyone was shocked and cursed. No wonder this brat is so fearless, he has such a trick up his sleeve. F***CK, what a disgrace to the Lai family. He's trash to begin with. It doesn't matter if he does it again. All sorts of curses could be heard. Chen Zhen and Han Bai's faces were ashen, and they were trembling with anger. Teacher Luo, this is a duel between students. How can you cancel it without permission? A teacher called Xuan Ping stood up and said in a deep voice, Moreover, Teacher Luo, you're from the Guardian Divine Guards. It doesn't seem convenient for you to participate in this matter. The duel between the two had already attracted many teachers. It wasn't because of the disparity in strength between the two, but because of their special backgrounds. They represented the two major forces of the Aquaski nation. The teachers of the academy weren't independent either. Many of them belonged to the two major forces. As for the Guardian Divine Guards, they were the strongest military organization in the Aquaski nation, and they were directly under the command of the king. Luo Yunshang's eyes shone brightly as she stared at Xuan Ping. I only know that Lai Yunxiao is my student, so I have the obligation to protect him. Teacher Xuan, if that's the case, which force do you belong to? He shook his head firmly and said, I don't belong to any force. However, as a teacher of the academy, it's not convenient for me to participate in the duel between students. I have to be fair and impartial. Lai Yunxiao interrupted Luo Yunshang and said, Teacher Luo, I'm your student. Why do you have to protect Lan Xuan? Teacher Xuan was right. They had to be fair and impartial and not be biased towards either side. All of you can leave. It's only a matter of time before I cripple him. Luo Yunsheng and the rest were stunned. Is there something wrong with your brain? Are you scared out of your wits by the scene? While they were still in a daze, Lai Yunxiao had already stepped onto the training field and was walking towards Lan Xuan. Sai, this bastard? Luo Yunsheng stomped her feet in anger. She couldn't stop the duel anymore. However, she focused all her attention and prepared to save Lan Xuan. No matter what, she couldn't allow Lai Yunxiao to be crippled. I thought you wouldn't dare to come, Lan Xuan mocked coldly as he stood up. Do you think you'll be able to extend your presence just by saying a few words? Dream on. Lai Yunxiao shouted coldly. He took a step forward and a powerful force emanated from his body. Martial warrior. This kid has really become a martial warrior. Luo Yunsheng was shocked. Even though Zhang Lishan had told her about it, she was still shocked to see it with her own eyes. She was sure that Lai Yunxiao was still a piece of trash who hadn't even opened his chakra a few days ago. How is this possible? This kid is actually a martial warrior of the first origin stage. The students outside the arena were all shocked. Yu Hezheng, who was in the crowd, felt as if he had been struck by a hammer. No wonder my good-for-nothing little brother wasn't your match. You've really hidden yourself well. Lan Xuan laughed coldly. However, your luck ends here. The aura on his body instantly erupted, and waves of energy surged out. The surrounding air seemed to be affected as well, and it began to spin rapidly. The students who were near the training grounds seemed to feel a faint pressure, as expected of a peak 9 stars martial warrior. This Lan Xuan is really incredible. I'm afraid that in less than a month, he will be able to break through to the second origin stage and become a martial master. Xuan Ping was full of praise. How many moves do you guys think that Lai Yunxiao can take? How many moves? Another teacher laughed. Look at the difference in their auras. I'm afraid that he will be crushed in a single clash. Commander Zhao Chen also praised young Master Lan Xuan last time. He seems to have the intention of recruiting young Master Lan Xuan. Oh! Xuan Ping's eyes lit up as he said happily. Young Master Lan Xuan is just a step away from becoming a martial master. Becoming a divine guard of the divine kingdom is a sure thing. If this Lai Yunxiao can take one move from him and not die, he will be a genius. Wang Feng, who was at the side, was silent. His eyes were very gloomy. Although he was from the Lan clan's faction, he only stood on his nephew's side. Now that his nephew had been expelled, he felt extremely depressed as he watched his competitor gain the limelight. He wished that Lai Yunxiao could give him a big surprise and cripple Lan Xuan. However, he knew that this was just a fool's dream. One move? I don't think so. Suddenly, the eyes of Zhang Lishan, who had been silent all this while, shone brightly. He stared at Lai Yunxiao's footsteps on the practice grounds and said, "All of you are underestimating this Lai Yunxiao. This duel might be worth watching." The other teachers were stunned. Luo Yunsheng was also shocked and didn't understand. She raised her head and saw that Lai Yunxiao was just slowly walking towards Lan Xuan. His movements were really slow, like he was unable to move under his aura. Each step he took used up a lot of energy. Out of everyone present, only Zhang Lishan felt that something wasn't right. He was a 5-element realm martial king, and he noticed that the air around Lai Yunxiao was a little weird. Along with each step he took, the entire space seemed to be shaking. At this moment, he seemed to have an illusion that the laws of heaven and earth around him seemed to pulsate with his footsteps as if they were alive. Thinking about that, Zhang Lishan sucked in a deep, cold breath. How was that possible? However, this kid's footsteps were definitely some kind of secret technique. At least he was able to cause the surrounding aura to be the same as his footsteps. What a deep technique. After Zhang Lishan's reminder, Luo Yunsheng seemed to have noticed something and was in deep thought. Trash, you are unable to move even a single step under my aura and you still want to fight me. Lan Xuan laughed in disdain. Large amounts of essence energy surged into his right hand. Circles of essence energy rippled out like a whirlpool on the surface of the ocean, showing signs of spinning power. Don't worry, I won't kill you. I will make you kneel down and admit your mistakes. I will make your Lai family unable to raise their heads. Lan Xuan was planning to win in one move to establish his prestige. Flowing cloud sword technique, star spinning palm. With a push of his palm, the surrounding heaven and earth Yuan Kai surged over in a frenzy, forming a cyclone that covered the sky and covered Lai Yunxiao. Turning the sword into a palm spinning like the stars, good. Xuan Ping couldn't help but cheer. Although some of the other teachers couldn't stand Xuan Ping's naked bootlicking, they still revealed expressions of admiration. Only Zhang Lishan's expression became grave as he stared at Lai Yunxiao. Lai Yunxiao smiled coldly. All the essence energy in his body suddenly gathered on his feet and he suddenly shot up. His body instantly turned into an afterimage as he soared into the sky. The diamond rocks on the ground were instantly crushed into powder. What's going on? So fast? Lan Xuan's expression changed. Lai Yunxiao's speed had actually broken through the envelopment of his fist wind. He said angrily, "You want to escape? Dream on." His right palm changed and the whirlpool suddenly expanded, increasing the attack range by several times. Lai Yunxiao soared into the sky. He couldn't dodge while he was in the air. HMPH, moon steps, shifting shadows. Just when everyone's eyes were wide open, planning to see how he was going to take this move, his body suddenly turned into an afterimage as he moved several feet horizontally in a strange posture, forcefully dodging the attack. How is this possible? What kind of movement skill is this? Crossing the sky. Lan Xuan's pupils shrank and his eyeballs almost popped out. Just when everyone was tongue-tied, Lai Yunxiao's figure directly took a step in the air. It was as if he was crossing the sky and he actually didn't fall. As his foot landed, it seemed as if some kind of power in the air had been drawn, and everyone's heart trembled slightly. Zhang Lishan's pupils shrank as he jumped up from his chair in shock. The others weren't clear, but he clearly saw that Lai Yunxiao's step was a continuation of the previous one. Whether it was the frequency or the time, it was exactly the same. It was just right. In other words, when he dodged Lan Xuan's move, it wasn't because he couldn't resist it. Instead, it was because he wanted to complete this set of strange steps. As he took the last step, the rhythm of the world started moving with him. All of a sudden, rays of golden light blossomed from his body as he fell from the sky. The momentum of the world seemed to have been drawn and frantically surged into his body. It gave people the feeling that the sky was collapsing, and the momentum of all living things was converging into one. Borrowing the momentum of the world? Zhang Lishan turned pale with shock, and his eyes stared blankly. He finally understood the purpose of Lai Yunxiao's set of steps. It was to mobilize the power of the world, which was to borrow momentum. Chapter 22. Lai Yunxiao's aura was getting stronger and stronger like a meteorite. His hands were constantly forming all sorts of seals, and many afterimages appeared around him. At this time, 3 shining golden hand seals appeared, and countless energies from the surrounding space surged in. The light became brighter and brighter. Lai Yunxiao softly said, "Floating life like a dream, flying swan seal." The 3 golden lights merged into one, and it was like a meteorite falling to the ground. A huge golden palm seal descended from the sky. Floating life seal. It's actually the floating life seal? Zhang Lishan couldn't conceal the shock in his eyes. With Lai Yunxiao's strength, he couldn't use the floating life seal at all. He could only use the power of heaven and earth and borrow external force to complete this move. However, borrowing the power of heaven and earth doesn't just require technique. It also requires comprehension of the power of heaven and earth. Even I can't see through it. How did he do it? Zhang Lishan was a little absent-minded as he looked at the floating life like a dream golden seal. Could he be Yang Dai's disciple? This is Lord Yang Dai's floating life seal. Luo Yunshang was instantly stunned, and she muttered to herself, "How is this possible? He is only a 1-star warrior. How could he use the floating life seal? What relationship does he have with Lord Yang Dai?" Everyone was completely stunned. They couldn't adapt to the sudden change in the situation. How many of them had seen such a grand and imposing martial skill before? Their eyes were wide open, and their minds were blank. Just when everyone was completely stunned, Lan Xuan, who was on the training ground, was also completely dumbfounded. That earth-shattering might had covered the sky and covered the earth. Before the palm imprint had even reached him, his battle intent had already collapsed. His clothes had instantly turned into dust, and his skin had started to crack open. Boom! The floating life seal landed on Lan Xuan's body, and he was sent flying with a burst of golden light. He was like a balloon that had suddenly deflated. Fresh blood sprayed in the air, and he was sent flying dozens of meters away. He landed on the ground far away, and the diamond stones shattered into pieces. Who? Lai Yunxiao's body finally landed on the ground. He took a deep breath, and his face was pale. His body was also trembling slightly. Just now, all of his essence Kai had been sucked dry, and the borrowed might of heaven and earth had also vanished. Silence. The entire place was absolutely silent. When Lai Yunxiao used the fulgurating shadows substitution technique, there were still sounds of discussion. However, after he used the floating dream seal, the crowd became completely silent. Lan Xuan's defeat was already within everyone's expectations, but when it actually happened, it still left everyone dumbfounded. One move. The young master of the Lai family, who had never revealed his strength and was known as Trash, had completely defeated the leader of the Xuan gang, who was ranked third on the minor influential list and a martial warrior at the peak of 9 stars with just one move. Moreover, it was a complete defeat without any suspense. That floating life seal that borrowed the power of heaven and earth was deeply imprinted in everyone's minds, and they could not forget it. At this moment, everyone was dumbstruck by this completely unexpected outcome, including Zhang Lishan, Luo Yunshang, Xu Enping, Wang Feng, Qin Ruxu, Chen Zhen, Han Bai, Yu Hezheng, and all the disciples of the Xuan gang. The minds of everyone present had gone blank. Lai Yunxiao's face was extremely pale. He began to take deep breaths to recover the energy he had consumed. The battle technique that borrowed the power of heaven and earth just now could only be used against these low-level warriors because it required too much time to prepare. A battle between high-level martial artists could change in an instant. No one would give you that much time to take advantage of the situation. Step by step, he walked towards Lan Xuan, who was like a pile of mud. How could this be? Defeated? Lan Xuan was actually defeated. Moreover, he was defeated in such a sorry state, his body covered in cuts and bruises. My God. He is a 9-star samurai, and that Lai Yunxiao is only a 1-star samurai. How can the gap be so big? Zhang Lishan was slightly stunned as well, and his pupils suddenly constricted as he shouted loudly. Stop! His voice was like a huge bell, and all the students were shaken. Lai Yunxiao was stomping on Lan Xuan's dantian when Zhang Lishan roared. His eyes flickered as he sneered and said, I already said that no one can save you. Lan Xuan might have been severely injured and couldn't move, but his divine sense was still awake. He saw Lai Yunxiao's foot getting bigger and bigger in his eyes, and his heart surged with boundless fear. Lunatic? This person is a lunatic. He even dared to go against the dean's words. Isn't he afraid of being expelled? Save me, save me. Who can save me? Bang! The foot hit Lan Xuan's dantian, and the fist force broke through. A ray of light burst out from Lan Xuan's lower abdomen, and the force broke through his body and came out from his lower back. The clothes on his back were instantly torn apart. PFFF. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Lan Xuan's mouth, and his entire body immediately became dispirited. His essence, energy, and spirit instantly disappeared, and he became like a shriveled ball as he fainted. Ah! Everyone was completely stunned, crippled. Lan Xuan's dantian was actually smashed, and he was completely crippled. When a martial artist's dantian was smashed, they would be crippled for life, unless they had the legendary sacred medicine of 7th grade or above. Zhang Lishan was also completely stunned. He couldn't save Lan Xuan with his speed, and he fell dozens of meters away from the two of them as he stared blankly. It was the first time in many years that he felt at a loss. Luo Yunchang sucked in a breath of cold air, and she also flew over. She saw Lai Yunxiao walking step by step toward the mud-like Lan Xuan, and she cried out in alarm. "What are you doing?" Everyone was stunned. Lan Xuan was already crippled, so what else did he want to do? Pa! Lai Yunxiao suddenly raised his foot and instantly stomped down. Half of his foot directly pierced into Lan Xuan's mouth, and all his teeth were shattered. His mouth was directly torn open, and his face was covered in blood. Lan Xuan's divine sense had long since fainted, but his nerves were twitching instinctively. Everyone was overwhelmed with shock, and they felt a chill run down their spines. "Brat, you are too vicious." Zhang Lishan was extremely furious. His figure flashed, and he flew over. "HMPH, I said that I wanted to fight, and you licked my shoes. I haven't washed my feet for 3 days. Now you must feel good, right?" Lai Yunxiao squinted his eyes, and his 5 fingers made a grabbing motion in the air. He took the 5-colored godly space jade pendant that was hanging on Lan Xuan's waist into his hand. This was something that he was determined to get. He then kicked out, and Lan Xuan's entire body was lifted up like he was lifting a piece of trash, and he was kicked toward Zhang Lishan. Bang! Zhang Lishan didn't even look at him, and he directly sent the crippled Lan Xuan flying again with a palm strike. His entire body landed in front of Lai Yunxiao, and the fury on his body instantly erupted. He was like an enraged lion, and he formed an overbearing pressure in the air that ruthlessly pressed down on Lai Yunxiao's body. He is already crippled, so why is he still so vicious? HMPH, this is a life and death duel, and my life and death are up to me. It's none of your business. None of your business. None of your business. None of your business. Lai Yunxiao's voice reverberated in the martial arts field, and everyone was completely dumbfounded. Even the king of the Aquaski nation, the president of the Alchemists Guild, the commander of the Guardian Divine Guards, and all the most influential people in the Aquaski nation didn't dare to speak to the dean of the Jialan Academy like this. Zhang Lishan was stunned, and he laughed out of anger. "Ha, it's none of my business. Brat, do you know who I am?" Lai Yunxiao sneered. "Jialan Academy's dean, Martial King Zhang Lishan. You're over 100 years old, and you're only a martial king. You still have the nerve to show off. If I were you, I would have already killed myself out of shame." PFFT. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This brat is crazy. He's really crazy. The 5 Elements realm was known as a martial king. The #1 expert of the Aquaski nation was actually scolded for having a low cultivation level. Zhang Lishan flew into a rage, and he shouted, "Die!" The pressure on his body seemed to have materialized, and it faintly appeared in the air, pressing down like a mountain. Lai Yunxiao's complexion changed greatly, and his whole body was like a leaf swaying in the wind and rain under this pressure. It seemed as if he would collapse at any time. His body seemed as if it was about to be crushed into meat paste, and his whole body trembled non-stop. He glared angrily and roared, "Old man, you bullied me when I was only 15 years old when you were 100 years old, and you bullied me when you were a martial king. If I, Lai Yunxiao, don't die today, I will make you pay 100-fold in the future." Zhang Lishan's complexion changed greatly, and he was overwhelmed with shock. Under the pressure of his martial king realm, this little 1-star martial warrior was actually able to hold his head high and not kneel. What made him even more shocked was that, while facing him, a martial king, Lai Yunxiao's body actually released a fighting spirit that even he didn't dare to belittle. What kind of stubbornness and fighting spirit was this? What kind of unyielding soul was inside this brat's frail body? Luo Yunchang, who was far away, also changed from being anxious to being shocked. The unyielding struggle in Lai Yunxiao's eyes had deeply shocked her. What's with this feeling? Why does that stubborn expression of his give me such a familiar feeling? Luo Yunchang's eyes became somewhat blurred, and her eyebrows revealed deep doubt. Suddenly, a golden light flashed in her eyes, and she quickly turned around. The holy statue of Emperor Wu was standing in the air 100 meters away from the martial arts practice field. Under the illumination of the red sun, it looked like a huge sun. Chapter 23. Gu Fei Yang. His expression and demeanor are exactly the same as Sir Gu Feiyang. Luo Yuncheng stared at Lai Yunxiao in astonishment. Even under the pressure of the martial emperor realm, his eyes were still as bright as stars, and his lips were curled into a smile. The aura of a monarch looking down upon the world caused Luo Yuncheng's heart to tremble. She could only feel her vision blurring, as if this 15-year-old young man had overlapped with a peerless martial emperor who was unrestrained and unrestrained. Pooh! Lai Yunxiao finally couldn't take it anymore and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His eyes were like fire. Old man, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you are martial king. Even if I die, I will heavily injure you. He took out the energy explosion pill and swallowed it. Instantly, energy surged out from his body and his aura started to climb. Zhongli Shan was shocked. His aura was already at its peak. Not to mention a one-star martial warrior, even a martial master or even a martial grandmaster should have submitted to him. Did he really have to bully the weak and use his martial king's strength to bully a martial warrior? Even if he really subdued him, his reputation would be gone. Just as he was lost in his thoughts, he felt an indescribable aura spread out from Lai Yunxiao's body. There was no longer any emotion in Lai Yunxiao's eyes. Instead, they were as calm as an ancient well. This is... Zhongli Shan was shocked, and an indescribable feeling surged up in his heart. Luo Yuncheng also noticed the change in Lai Yunxiao's aura. She felt a light breeze blow past, and the originally cloudless sky seemed to have clouds gathering. Just at that moment, Lai Yunxiao raised his hand. Shock shot out from her eyes, and she exclaimed, "The wind is blowing, the clouds are Feiyang. How is that possible?" Zhongli Shan was shocked by Luo Yuncheng's shout, and his eyes were filled with shock. As a five-element realm martial king, he naturally sensed the extreme discomfort around. He looked into the sky and muttered, "Wind and clouds. The wind and clouds are really rising." The #1 expert of the Akwaski nation, the martial king Zhang Lishan, had cold sweat dripping down his forehead in front of a one-star warrior. Just who is this kid? This move, Great Wind Rises, Clouds Feiyang. Could it be Lord Gu Feiyang's Great Wind Cloud Palm? The wind and clouds rose, the mountains and rivers moved. Lai Yunxiao's slender figure was like a mountain, standing tall in the world, unchanging for all eternity. The wind and clouds moved according to his heart. The winds and clouds of heaven and earth, the winds and clouds are all mine. Back then, the army vanquishing martial emperor, Gu Feiyang, had suppressed 10 9-star martial emperors with one great wind palm at the top of the sea of clouds on the snow-descending peak of the Divine Night Palace. He had played with Hongyan, the palace master of the Divine Night Palace, 3 times. He had come and gone freely in the forbidden land of the Divine Night Palace, looking down on the world. "Stop!" Zhang Lishan shouted and immediately dispersed the aura on his body. He could already see the change in Lai Yunxiao's aura after consuming the Yuan Burst elixir. This kind of elixir that could instantly increase one's strength had great side effects. He wasn't afraid that Lai Yunxiao could injure him. Even if it was Gu Feiyang's Great Wind Cloud Palm, he wouldn't be afraid if it was executed by a one-star warrior. However, Lai Yunxiao not only knew the floating life seal, but he also knew the Great Wind Cloud Palm. It was extremely likely that he was related to Yang Dai. If these 2 moves were really taught to him by Yang Dai, then he wouldn't be able to explain himself to Yang Dai if he injured this kid. The #1 expert of the Akwaski nation, the martial king Zhang Lishan, who didn't even care about the king of the Akwaski nation, had a trace of fear in his eyes when he thought of Yang Dai. The competition between students is completely voluntary. I have nothing to say about you injuring Lan Xuan, but you shouldn't have been so vicious. Since this is your first offense, I will let this matter go. There will be no next time. Zhang Lishan's figure flickered after he left these words, and he disappeared from the practice field. Since he couldn't injure Lai Yunxiao, staying here would only make him more irritated. All the students and teachers were dumbfounded. Since when did the dean become so easy to talk to? Even if it was a prince or princess, they should have been sent flying with a slap after offending him. Luo Yunsheng also came back to her senses, and her eyes flashed with all kinds of splendor. She pretended to be angry and shouted, "Quickly withdraw the power!" The power of the Yuan burst pill dispersed, and his body was like an erupting volcano. Lai Yunxiao's entire body turned red, and he clenched his teeth as he said, "Old man, you run fast?" He put his palms together and sat down cross-legged like an unmoving mountain. The violent aura surging from his body instantly calmed down, and it seemed to circulate around his body according to a certain rule. His complexion also returned to normal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Luo Yunsheng was startled, and her beautiful eyes rippled. Lai Yunxiao's posture seemed to contain some kind of rule, and it made her ponder, but she didn't have the slightest clue. However, her heart was faintly telling her that this rule was very powerful. She knew that in the path of martial arts, there were many areas that required extraordinary comprehension, and it was a rare opportunity. She immediately sat down cross-legged and looked at Lai Yunxiao face to face and started to ponder. After a series of astonishment, the whole practice field immediately started to discuss loudly, and all kinds of expressions appeared on all kinds of people's faces. Han Bai and the others were worried about Lai Yunxiao, and they were stopped by Feng Buping. In order to maintain order, Feng Buping even forcibly dispersed the scene, and no one was allowed to stay in the practice field. Soon, all the students were dispersed, and only Lai Yunxiao and Luo Yunsheng were left. The two of them were sitting cross-legged, and they were both cultivating with their eyes closed. All of a sudden, a beam of light appeared on Luo Yunsheng's body, and slowly gathered at the center of her brows, like a lotus flower that had suddenly bloomed, and it was peaceful and contented. The surrounding aura changed rapidly along with the light, and it was as if she had absorbed all of it. In the distance, Xu Ping's eyes revealed a look of shock, and he muttered to himself, "She broke through." Luo Yunsheng actually broke through again. Luo Yunsheng only felt that the bottleneck in her cultivation was unconsciously breaking down, as she pondered about Lai Yunxiao's strange posture. By the time she discovered to her shock, the bottleneck had already been completely opened, and a wave of heaven and earth essence Kai gathered from all directions, madly surging into her body and flushing through her meridians. She knew that she had broken through, but it was really inexplicable. She hadn't comprehended much of that strange rule, but it had actually allowed her to break through to the next realm. What was going on with this Lai Yunxiao? What kind of heaven-defying cultivation technique was he cultivating? Luo Yunsheng suppressed the shock in her heart and carefully controlled the surrounding heaven and earth essence Kai to circulate in her body. And finally, it gathered and flowed into her Danshan's aura sea. Immediately, she felt that her entire body was clear, and an unprecedented feeling of power surged throughout her body. Only after her realm stabilized did she slowly open her eyes. "Ah!" She opened her eyes and immediately jumped in fright. Lai Yunxiao had already woken up at some point in time and was currently staring at her with wide eyes, smiling. Immediately, a red cloud flashed across her face, and she tenderly rebuked, "What did you do?" Lai Yunxiao was confused. "I didn't do anything." "Congratulations, Teacher Luo, for breaking through." Only then did Luo Yunsheng calm down her throbbing heart. She suddenly discovered a trace of abnormality and stared at Lai Yunxiao in astonishment and said, You advanced to a 2-star martial warrior?" Lai Yunxiao said with a smile. "Teacher is a 4-symbols realm martial monarch, and it's 100 times more difficult for you to advance than for me, but you still advanced. What's so surprising about a martial warrior like me advancing?" Luo Yunsheng discovered that sooner or later, her heart wouldn't be able to take it if she stayed with this brat. She put on a stern face and said angrily, "Don't play dumb with me. How many days has it been since you advanced to a martial warrior?" "I discovered that after 5 days of seclusion, the world has completely changed. Give me an explanation for all these things." Lai Yunxiao shouted, "Ayo, my injuries haven't healed yet. How can I withstand Teacher Luo's interrogation? Wait for me to go back and rest for 10 days to half a month. Then I'll explain to you when my injuries are healed." Luo Yunsheng looked at his sorry figure and bloodstains, and a trace of hesitation flashed in her eyes. "All right, but I'll only give you 3 days. Come find me in the office 3 days later." "This little girl, why is she so overbearing? She doesn't even listen to reason." Lai Yunxiao watched as Luo Yunchang left and said to himself with a smile, "But her talent is excellent, she's worth nurturing." Lai Yunxiao didn't stop at all. This battle had a huge impact on him. Originally, after taking the vitality-charging pill, he directly advanced to the first element realm, but there was still a large amount of medicinal energy left in his body. This time, after the impact of the heaven and earth's power on his body, the remaining medicinal energy was completely dispersed, and this was also the reason why he advanced to 2 stars after the battle. After advancing after the battle, the first thing he should do was to stabilize his current realm, but he faintly felt that he hadn't finished digesting it. After leaving the training field, he went straight to the gravity room. Now that he was able to move freely in the 10x gravity room, the 10x gravity field was the most suitable for him to temper his body. As soon as he entered the gravity room, many students immediately recognized him and retreated in shock, not daring to get too close to him. No one dared to fight with him for the room. After teleporting to the 10x gravity area, he found a secret room and entered. Coincidentally, Roland came out from another 10x gravity room and was shocked to see Lai Yunxiao's figure. "What's going on?" "He looks very energetic. Did Lan Xuan not cripple him?" "That's not Lan Xuan's style." Just as she was puzzled, as Lai Yunxiao entered the secret room, the dozens of people in the public area seemed to heave a sigh of relief at the same time and started to discuss among themselves. "This kid has such a strong aura. I don't even dare to get within 3 meters of him." Of course, he killed Lan Xuan in one move, and the pressure he emits within 3 meters is enough to crush you. I don't think Bai Cheng Feng and Lin Yu on the minor wind and cloud ranking are his match. Tusk, I just heard the news from the infirmary. Lan Xuan's meridians are all broken, and his energy sea has collapsed. Unless he has a level 5-9 Hell Kai concentrating pill, he will be a cripple for life. Are you serious? This kid is so ruthless. It's not like you don't know that the infirmary's teacher, Teacher Ku, is a first-rank warrior-level arcane master. How could he make a wrong diagnosis? Moreover, he is my cousin's uncle's second uncle's neighbor's son's 7th wife's sister-in-law's brother. We are such close relatives. How could he lie to me? This kid doesn't even give face to the dean. He is indeed ruthless. Everyone should be careful not to provoke this ruthless person, otherwise no one will be able to save you. Chapter 24. Rolando's mind buzzed as she heard the words. Kill Lan Xuan in one move. She felt a little absent-minded as the scene in front of her seemed a little unreal. That slender figure flashed through her mind one by one. 5 days later, in a secret room of the 10x gravity room, a milky white aura faintly appeared around Lai Yunxiao's body. His body was curled up into a ball, like a baby in its mother's womb. His breathing was abnormally weak, as if he didn't have any true breath. However, the skin on his body was indeed opening and closing, breathing in and out. This was an extremely brilliant breathing technique that could allow a person to return to the Xiantian realm and enter the embryonic breathing state. On the surface, it looked like he was sleeping, but the true energy in his body was surging like a river. It was several times more powerful than ordinary meditation. After an unknown amount of time, his tightly closed eyes suddenly opened. A turbid aura was heavily exhaled, and his eyes shone brightly. Peak 2-star martial warrior. With 3 more days of embryonic breathing, I can break through. But his brows slightly furrowed. Specks of golden light appeared in his sea of consciousness, slowly condensing under the ethereal state. A piece of golden mantra words appeared in the void of spiritual sense. The tadpole-like words flickered, constantly flickering and disappearing, unable to be fixed in shape. This divine evolution art is too marvelous. Not only can it not be written, but it's also difficult to form the soul platform in my sea of consciousness. However, every time I try, my soul power grows by a lot. Although soul refining techniques are extremely precious, I've read no less than 10 of them. I've never seen such a mysterious situation. He took a deep breath and firmly said, "Forget it. It's rare for my soul power to grow to this level. I can refine it as a martial cultivator at any time. The key now is to use this opportunity to become a rank 1 arcane refiner." Just as he was about to break through to the peak of the 2-star warrior realm, his soul force had also condensed to a certain degree. Moreover, the great divine evolution technique was even more complete than usual. As a result, he decisively gave up on martial cultivation and focused all of his attention on tempering his soul force above his beer. Following the appearance of the great divine evolution technique, the golden radiance in his knowledge sea became more and more numerous, illuminating the entire spiritual platform like a golden wheel. Lai Yung Xiao was a Tier 9 Emperor Tier Technique refiner in his previous life. Naturally, he knew that the time had come. Immediately, his divine sense flickered, and the golden light in his knowledge sea surged towards the center. It was as if a black hole had appeared, devouring everything in a frenzy. "Condense," he abruptly opened his eyes. Streaks of golden lightning floated in his eyes before faintly dispersing. His eyes became clear and he returned to his normal state. "Ha, I've finally recovered my first-rank soul power. I didn't expect it to be so fast. Now I can refine my own Xuan weapons and medicine." Lai Yungxiao's figure flickered as he stepped out of the secret chamber and entered the teleportation array. Just as he was about to open the door, a thought flashed through his mind, and he abruptly turned around, intending to leave. "You want to leave? Come back." A voice came from the dormitory, and the door creaked open. Luo Yunshang was staring at him coldly, and traces of anger surfaced on her face. "Lai Yungxiao, did you really ignore my words? It's been 5 days, and I still haven't seen you." Cold sweat seeped out from Lai Yungxiao's forehead as he laughed awkwardly. "Ha, I forgot about it the moment I started cultivating. 2-star peak martial artist. You've only advanced to 2-star martial artist for 5 days. Luo Yunshang's expression suddenly changed. She could feel the faint fluctuation of essence energy coming from Lai Yungxiao's body. She said in a deep voice, "Lai Yungxiao, I know you must have had some fortuitous encounter. But in the cultivation of martial arts, persistence is the most important thing. You must not take the risk of consuming elixirs with great side effects just for the sake of speed. Otherwise, it will be detrimental to your future." She mistakenly thought that Lai Yungxiao had consumed an elixir to increase his strength. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have such a terrifying speed. Lai Yungxiao's heart warmed slightly. He knew that this was for his own good. He immediately put on a straight face and said, "Teacher, don't worry, I definitely didn't consume any elixirs." A look of suspicion flashed across Luo Yunshang's face. But when she saw that Lai Yungxiao's eyes were clear and didn't look like he was lying, she was relieved. "That's for the best. Now you should give me an explanation, right?" "Explanation? What explanation?" Lai Yungxiao suddenly slapped his head. "Aya, I still have something important to do. I'll leave first. See you next time." Very quickly, Luo Yunshang's cold and murderous gaze fell on him. Her gaze felt like it was piercing his body, causing him to shiver. He knew that there was no way he could escape this time. He smiled bitterly. "Teacher, what do you want me to explain?" Luo Yunshang stared at him. She realized that this useless student, who had never attracted her attention in the past, was becoming more and more unfathomable to her, especially after this duel. "How did you learn Lord Yang Dai's floating life seal and Lord Gu Feiyang's great wind cloud palm? Before I went into seclusion, you were just an ordinary person who hadn't even opened your chakra. You only went into seclusion for 5 days, and you've already become a 1-star martial artist. What kind of technique did you use to suppress the primordial burst elixir in your body that day? Also, how did you find out about the secret to the Crimson Refinement Copper Mystic Weapons advancement in class that day?" Her crimson lips fired off a series of questions, giving Lai Yungxiao a headache. What did Dean Zhongli Shan think about it? Luo Yunshang glared at him and said, "Lord Dean's analysis is that you've been taught by Lord Yang Dai. These heaven-defying martial arts and refinement techniques were all taught by Lord Yang Dai." Lai Yungxiao giggled and said, Lord Dean is really smart. You figured it out immediately. This is indeed the case. It was reasonable to push everything onto Yang Dai. Moreover, he wasn't afraid of confronting Yang Dai face to face. In fact, he was even looking forward to it. Bullsh *T? Two vulgar words burst out of Luo Yunshang's mouth, giving Lai Yungxiao a fright. She stared at Lai Yungxiao coldly and said, "Others might not know, but I do. Firstly, although your Lai clan is a big shot in the kingdom's military and has great influence, you've never come in contact with Lord Yang Dai. Secondly, according to what I know, Lord Yang Dai doesn't even know the great wind cloud palm." Lai Yungxiao said in surprise, "How do you know that Yang Dai doesn't know it?" Luo Yunshang seemed to be in deep thought. She then shook her head and sighed, "Forget it. Since you're not willing to say it, I won't force you. Originally, I was worried about you and thought of a way out for you. I didn't expect my worries to be unnecessary. However, you still have to make a trip with me. I found a teacher for you at the Arcane Refiners Guild. He said that he wants to see the results of your soul power test before deciding whether or not to accept you as his disciple." "It can't be." "He wants me to become his disciple." Lai Yungxiao's eyes widened. He hurriedly said, "I can't do it. I know my soul power best. It's too trashy." Luo Yunshang said coldly, "Whether it's trash or not isn't up to you to decide. I've already promised him. Moreover, it wasn't easy for me to get him to agree. You have to go even if you don't want to." She didn't say anything else and directly dragged Lai Yungxiao towards the Arcane Refiners Guild. Lai Yungxiao shouted, "Which expert is it? You want me to become his disciple. Can he afford it?" Luo Yunshang stared blankly. She angrily scolded, "He's the most promising arcane refiner in the Arcane Refiners Guild. I spent a lot of effort to get him to agree. Everyone else is just begging for it. Don't give me more trouble. Let me tell you, even if you specialize in martial arts, if you can supplement it with soul cultivation, it will be extremely beneficial to your martial arts. As for who it is, you'll know when you get there." Lai Yungxiao didn't say anything else. He only felt slightly astonished. Normal martial artists wouldn't understand the complementation between Kai refinement and soul refinement. It seemed like this Luo Yunshang wasn't just extremely talented. She must have received guidance from an expert. Luo Yunshang didn't say anything else. She directly grabbed Lai Yungxiao with one hand and headed towards the Arcane Refiners Guild. Just like that, Lai Yungxiao was half-dragged into the Arcane Refiners Guild by Luo Yunshang. The moment he entered, he immediately saw Jia Rong explaining a problem to an arcane refiner apprentice in a corner. There were already several circles of people surrounding him. Luo Yunshang directly squeezed through the crowd and released her martial monarch aura. The surrounding people all backed away with angry expressions, but she didn't care about that and directly shouted, "Grandmaster Jia, I was looking for you. I've brought the eldest son of the Lai family, Lai Yungxiao, that I mentioned last time." Lai Yungxiao was immediately dumbfounded. She actually found Jia Rong to be her master. Jia Rong replied with an "Oh," and directly said without raising his head, "So it's Lady Yunshang. Go to the outer hall and find an arcane refiner to test his soul power first." "Okay." Luo Yunshang nodded and turned around. "Lai Yungxiao, follow me outside." Lai Yungxiao had a bitter expression as he followed behind Luo Yunshang. Just as he was about to leave, a surprised voice suddenly shouted, "It's you!" The receptionist Lu Yao hurriedly ran over and happily said, "I finally get to see you again. After you taught my brother last time, his success rate in making powerful medicines almost reached 100%. Thank you so much." Lai Yungxiao gave her a thumbs up and smiled encouragingly. "Tell your brother that he's quite talented. As long as he perseveres, he will definitely succeed." Lu Yao showed a look of gratitude. "My brother has made many medicines and made quite a bit of money. He has already entered seclusion and is planning to break through to the next level. I really don't know how to thank you." The little beauty excitedly clasped her hands in front of her chest. Her lovely appearance attracted many people's attention. Lai Yungxiao smiled. Isn't it easy to thank you? You can repay me with your body." Lu Yao blushed and giggled. "Don't be serious." She had been a receptionist in the Arcane Refiners Guild for many years and had seen all kinds of people. She had also been teased by many people, so she naturally wouldn't take it seriously. But at this moment, a trace of anticipation suddenly arose faintly in her heart, and it caused her to feel a wave of shock. Lai Yunxiao, what kind of place is this? How dare you try to pick up girls? Luo Yunsheng angrily said and slapped the back of his head. So he's called Lai Yunxiao, Lu Yao muttered in her heart. Lai Yunxiao didn't dare to dodge and took the hit squarely. He bitterly smiled. Of course not. Can't you see that she's the one picking me up? Tui, Lu Yao blushed. No matter how thick-skinned she was, she couldn't stay any longer and hurriedly left. Chapter 25. Hurry up and come with me for the test, Luo Yunsheng snapped. If you don't pass, just wait and see how I'll deal with you. Their conversation immediately attracted the attention of many, especially those students who were still listening to Jia Rong's lecture. They all furrowed their brows and glared angrily. An alchemist's lecture was an extremely rare opportunity to learn. It was a once in a very long time. However, every arcane refiner would have a public lecture like this when they advanced to the next rank. You too, if you want to quarrel, please leave. An alchemist apprentice finally couldn't take it anymore. He was at the back of the line, so he couldn't hear clearly to begin with. He was feeling very annoyed. Sorry, we'll leave now, Luo Yunsheng said apologetically. She also knew how difficult it was for them to listen to a lecture. She fiercely punched Lai Yunxiao's shoulder and shouted, "Hurry up and get out!" Her voice attracted many people's attention. Jia Rong, who was teaching in the corner, also frowned. He raised his head and coldly asked, "What is it?" The students who were engrossed in the lecture all came back to their senses. They turned their heads together and glared at the two troublemakers. Jia Rong was also a little unhappy. He knew that it was Luo Yunsheng, but he felt that the other party was not giving him any face. Just as he was about to put on airs, a sharp light flashed in his eyes and shot over. He just happened to see Lai Yunxiao following behind Luo Yunsheng like a frosted eggplant. Young Master Yun. Lai Yunxiao. Young Master Yun, Lai Yunxiao. He suddenly felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He kept shouting these two names in his heart, his entire mind completely blank. Grandmaster Jia, there are two idiots causing trouble. I'll chase them out right now. An alchemist apprentice proudly stood up. Idiots, Jia Rong muttered to himself. Suddenly a shiver ran down his spine. He hurriedly rushed up and slapped the apprentice away. He angrily roared, "Idiot, your sister! They came all the way here to learn. Do you know how hard it is? Can you compare to their desire to learn? Can you even compare to his determination to learn?" Everyone was stunned. They patted their heads and looked at the student who was sent flying into the distance. Only then did they realize that what they saw was real. Young Master Yun. Jia Rong rushed over and greeted him carefully. "Master Jia?" Luo Yunsheng was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Just call him Lai Yunxiao, no need to be so polite." Smack, Luo Yunsheng slapped the back of Lai Yunxiao's head and said angrily, "Grandmaster Jia has already greeted you. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and greet Master Jia." Pa! It was as if Jia Rong's heart had been directly hit and blood almost burst out. Lai Yunxiao lowered his head angrily and shouted, "Hello, Grandmaster Jia." Jia Rong jumped in fright and hastily dodged to the side. Although Lai Yunxiao had only lowered his head, it looked like he was bowing. He didn't dare to accept it and dodged as if he was running away. Luo Yunsheng looked at Jia Rong's actions and felt that it was a little strange. "I was just planning to bring this kid to do the spirit power test. No need for the test." Jia Rong hurriedly waved his hand and was at a loss of what to do. "There's no need." Luo Yunsheng was taken aback for a moment before she slapped him again. Then she slapped the back of Lai Yunxiao's head and said angrily, "You rude kid, you've made Grandmaster Jia angry. Hurry up and apologize," she explained to Jia Rong. "This kid hasn't seen the world and is lacking in manners. Please forgive him, Grandmaster Jia." Jia Rong's mind went blank and he almost knelt down. His whole body was drenched in cold sweat and his cheeks were dripping with sweat. He slapped himself and cried, "Master Luo, please don't hit me. I said the wrong thing." Young Master Yun is extremely talented and doesn't need to do the spirit power test. At this moment, it was not only Luo Yunsheng who was stunned. Even Lu Yao, who was standing in the distance, was dumbstruck. The eyes of the arcane apprentices listening to Jia Rong's explanation nearly popped out of their sockets. Luo Yunsheng was stunned. Extremely talented. Then this disciple, you. Jia Rong hurriedly said, Yes, yes, I'll accept this disciple. After he said that, he immediately felt that his words were inappropriate. He saw Lai Yunxiao's cold gaze staring at him, and he immediately trembled in fear. No, no, I said the wrong thing again. Not accepting, not accepting. Luo Yunsheng was stunned. Grandmaster Jia, your behavior today is too strange. Are you accepting or not? Jia Rong cried. I, Master Luo, please don't hit his head anymore. I'll do whatever you want me to do. If you hit him again, I'll really kneel before you. Luo Yunsheng was completely dumbfounded. But even an idiot could see that Jia Rong respected Lai Yunxiao. She was stunned. Lai Yunxiao, you. At this time, there was a sudden commotion in the hall. An old man walked in surrounded by a group of people. The moment the old man entered the hall, all the voices stopped. Everyone stood quietly and lowered their heads slightly with longing in their eyes. The old man's eyes were full of spirit, and his expression was abnormally serious. After entering the hall, he looked around and was slightly stunned when he saw Luo Yunsheng. He then nodded with a smile and directly went up to the second floor. Lai Yunxiao narrowed his eyes. The soul power fluctuations emitted by the old man were very strong. He was at least a third-rank arcane master. After reincarnating, this was the first time he saw a third-rank arcane master. After the old man went up to the second floor, the hall became noisy again. Luo Yunsheng's expression became serious. Master Zhang Qingfen personally came to the Arcane Alchemist Guild. Could it be that Ruxu's illness can't be controlled? Lai Yunxiao's heart jumped, and he quickly asked, Ruxu. What happened to Ruxu? Luo Yunsheng's expression was a little ugly, and she sighed. This is not a secret. Ruxu was born with 5 yin meridians, and she can't live past 5 years old. Back then, His Majesty the King used the power of the whole country to ask a 5th-rank arcane master to make a prescription for Ruxu, and said that it can protect her life for 10 years. Counting it like this, it has been 9 years. 5 yin meridians. Lai Yunxiao's expression changed, and he said solemnly, 5 yin meridians, unless it is the 8th-rank 5-dragon yang pill, it can't be cured with medicine. 5-dragon yang pill? Luo Yunsheng was stunned. This was the first time she heard of this pill. Hearing that there was a pill that could cure Ruxu's illness, she was instantly overjoyed, but then a bucket of cold water was poured over her, and she smiled bitterly. 8th-rank pills, only the legendary 8th-rank arcane master can refine them. Jia Rong also sighed. 8th-rank arcane master, that is already a godlike existence. Lai Yunxiao's expression was solemn, and after a moment of thought, he said, Teacher Luo, you can go back first. I want to discuss the matter of apprenticeship with Grandmaster Jia alone. Luo Yunsheng looked at the two of them strangely, a little worried. Jia Rong broke out in a cold sweat again, and he hurriedly said, Rest assured, Lady Yun Shang, if young Master Yun wants to apprentice, he can do it. He can do whatever he wants. I will follow his instructions. I will not let you down. Luo Yunsheng instantly felt dizzy. Just what is going on? Why did the arrogant Jia Rong become a servant in front of Lai Yunxiao? Right, look at his yes-man appearance. He is just a servant. Is he still a high and mighty arcane master? She felt a little unsteady, afraid that she would faint if she continued to stay in the hall, so she hurriedly said a few polite words and left. When Luo Yunsheng left, Jia Rong and Lai Yunxiao felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Lai Yunxiao said, Let's find a quiet place. I need to think about the problem. Jia Rong immediately made an inviting gesture and brought Lai Yunxiao to his room. The way he followed behind Lai Yunxiao like a yes-man left Lu Yao and the group of arcane apprentices dumbfounded, unable to react for a few minutes. Afterwards, they even suspected that they were hallucinating, that they saw wrong. Jia Rong was a first-rank arcane master, and his private lounge was extremely luxuriously decorated. The spacious room had all kinds of fine wine, and the lighting was excellent. Lai Yunxiao refused to say a word as he sat on a chair, standing up from time to time and pacing back and forth. Jia Rong didn't dare disturb him and quietly stood to the side. "I got it." Lai Yunxiao suddenly jumped up from his chair and slammed the table, saying, "Let's do it. Jia Rong, go tell Zhang Qingfen that you can cure the princess's 5-yin arteries." Jia Rong jumped in fright and said in disbelief, Young Master Yun, you're not joking, are you?" Lai Yunxiao's expression turned cold. "Do I like to joke with you? Apart from the 5-dragon yang pill, the princess's 5-yin arteries can also be cured by acupuncture with golden needles. With my current soul power, although I can't cure it in one go, it should be fine after a few tries." "Golden, acupuncture with golden needles?" Jia Rong's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he said in shock, "Young Master Yun, you also know this legendary method? Are you really confident?" Lai Yunxiao rubbed his temples. "Didn't I say it already? One try might not work, so I have to try a few more times. So you have to be the one to cure the princess, and I'll be your assistant. I'll be the one doing the acupuncture. Do you think I'll let you do it for the princess? With your meager skills?" Lai Yunxiao's eyes were full of disdain, but Jia Rong didn't feel sad at all. Instead, he felt that this was indeed the case. Then, young Master Yun, can I watch and learn from the side when you're doing the acupuncture?" Lai Yunxiao waved his hand. "Up to you. Remember to tell Zhang Qingfen to accept this mission no matter what. Otherwise, if the medicine loses its effect, the princess will be in danger." Okay, I'll go right now." Jia Rong jumped up in excitement. He didn't care about the princess's life or death. What he cared about was that he could witness the legendary acupuncture method. These were all things that were only recorded in legends. "Oh, right?" Lai Yunxiao walked to the table, picked up a pen, and quickly wrote down a list. "These are the materials needed to treat the princess. Ask Zhang Qingfen to prepare them." Jia Rong excitedly ran over to take a look. He was immediately dumbfounded. "Why are there so many? Young Master Yun, aren't they all materials for refining weapons?" "Yes, I happen to be lacking a profound weapon." Jia Rong. Chapter 26. Lai Yunxiao left the Alchemist Guild and went to the nearby market after Jia Rong notified him. When he passed by the hall on the first floor, everyone's gaze towards him had completely changed. They were all filled with awe and respect. Actually, he only needed a box of golden needles to perform acupuncture. However, Lai Yunxiao was particular about the size, thickness, length, weight, purity, and materials of the golden needles. Thus, he decided to find some materials to refine them himself. Only in this way would he be able to execute it smoothly and without any mistakes. Just as he was wandering around the market, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Immediately, a beautiful memory surfaced in his mind. A smile appeared on his face as he moved closer to the figure. "Boss, I really only have 170 gold coins. Please do me a favor and help me this once." Meng Wu pleaded in front of a small stall. Intermediate alchemist apprentice Jun Liang waved his hand and said, "Go somewhere else. 300 gold coins is already the lowest price, or you can provide all the materials. I'll help you for 30 gold coins." Meng Wu took out 2 herbs and handed them over. "I only have the radiant orchid and the snake tongue flower." Jun Liang looked at them impatiently. "These 2 items are worth 20 gold coins at most." "Beauty, it's not that I don't want to help you, but you can't let me make a loss, right?" However, greed flashed in his eyes as he chuckled. "If you're willing to be my girlfriend, everything can be discussed." Meng Wu's expression changed. She immediately put away the 2 herbs and turned to leave. Jun Liang hurriedly said, "Hey, don't go. Being my girlfriend for 3 months is enough." "What, you don't want to treat your brother's illness?" His words were like a curse, causing Meng Wu to stop in her tracks and stand there in a daze. Jun Liang smiled triumphantly and said, "That's right. It's not like I'm asking you to marry me. Even if you're willing, I'm not. I'm going to become an alchemist in the future, and I'm going to marry the daughters of nobles. You're only worthy of playing with me for 3 months. How about it? If you agree, I'll give you this rejuvenation water as a gift." Meng Wu trembled in anger. She bit her lips so hard that it bled. "If you concoct the rejuvenation water for me, I'll definitely pay you back in 3 months. Still, HMPH, if your brother didn't have the rejuvenation water to prolong his life, I'm afraid he wouldn't have lived for more than 3 months. The money can be returned, but your brother's life is priceless. Zhun Liang revealed a hideous grin as he stepped forward and stretched out his hand to touch Meng Wu's body. What do you think, little beauty? I think you're still a fledgling. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in you. Pa! Liang Zhun retracted his hand as if he had been electrocuted. The pain made his forehead turn cold. He hurriedly pulled up his sleeve. A palm-sized bruise began to slowly swell, and in the blink of an eye it swelled into a small hill. He looked angrily at Lai Yunxiao, who hit him, and said angrily, "Who the hell are you? How dare you hit me? Who are you? How dare you touch my girl?" Lai Yunxiao grinned and turned to look at Meng Wu meaningfully. When Meng Wu saw Lai Yunxiao, her mind immediately buzzed, and the encounter that night instantly flashed in her mind. All sorts of feelings of shame and anger welled up in her. Her cheeks were flushed and her eyes were spitting fire. Liang Zhun was stunned for a moment and then said coldly, "Your girl, let's see if she admits it or not. Do you know who I am?" He pointed at his bruised arm and said, "Brat, you're in big trouble now." When Lai Yunxiao heard that, he was instantly overjoyed. He smiled and said, "Who are you? I really don't know." Liang Zhun sneered and said, "I'll make sure you won't be able to laugh later. I'm an intermediate refinement apprentice of the Alchemists Guild, and my teacher is a rank 1 warrior-level alchemist, Master Jia Rong. My sworn brother is the eldest son of Lord Long King, the commander of the Imperial Guards, Long Hao. If you know what's good for you, kneel down and apologize to me. Then, pay me a few hundred gold coins as medical fees, and I'll let this matter go." Lai Yunxiao smiled and said, "I know Jia Rong and Long King, but I've never heard of his son, Long Hao. I also have a few hundred gold coins." He took out a storage bag and threw it on the ground. A trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. "But if you have the guts, take it." Liang Zhun was stunned. He didn't think that the other party would really take out a few hundred gold coins. He was instantly overjoyed and bent down to take it. Suddenly, an ice-cold chill came from his spine, causing his whole body to tremble. His whole body felt cold, and a deep sense of fear came from the bottom of his heart. He raised his head in shock, only to see a trace of indifference in Lai Yunxiao's cold eyes. He was staring at him as if he was looking at a dead man. Heavens, what kind of look was that? Even those soldiers who had been through hundreds of battles on the battlefield didn't have this kind of deathly expression. Liang Zhun's outstretched hand suddenly stopped in midair, and his whole body was instantly drenched in cold sweat. He believed that if he touched that money bag, the other party would definitely kill him. Meng Wu stared blankly at Lai Yunxiao. That kind of indifferent aura also affected her, and her heart was deeply shaken. Back then, in order to raise money, she had no choice but to agree to Lan Fei's scheme to harm people. Who knew that she would go for wool and come home shorn? Lan Fei was directly fired, and she didn't get a single cent. Instead, she was touched all over by this man. She would never forget that night. She secretly cried in her bed for the whole night, and her arms were even scratched by his fingernails. She swore 1,000 times that she would definitely kill this person. However, when Lai Yunxiao really appeared in front of her again, she was filled with anger, but she couldn't do anything. Perhaps it was because the peerless figure that descended from the sky on the martial arts field that day had been deeply imprinted in her heart. Little girls always loved to worship heroes, and strong people easily made people daydream. The move floating like a dream, flying swan has mark, also left a deep impression on this young girl's heart. She didn't know what a real strong person was, but it was most likely not far from that figure. "Brother Hao?" Liang Zhun's surprised cry pulled Meng Wu back from her thoughts. It was as if he had seen his savior. He quickly ran toward a man in armor. He quickly stretched out his hand and pointed in Lai Yunxiao's direction, muttering something. Long Hao walked over with a group of soldiers with a stern expression. He coldly looked at Lai Yunxiao and Meng Wu, then raised his head and looked at the sky. "I don't know who you are, and I don't want to know. I'll give you 2 choices now. 1, kneel down and apologize to my old brother. Leave this girl and this money and scram. 2. Become a cripple and spend the rest of your life in prison. I'll give you 3 breaths of time, choose. He was on duty today, patrolling with a group of people, and was currently bored. Although Liang Jun was born poor, he wasn't weak. Moreover, his master was Jia Rong, the arcane master with the most potential. Therefore, Long Hao was happy to associate with him and conveniently sell him a favor. HMPH, you dare touch me? I already told you my sworn brother is Long Hao. Brat, in the future, you better keep your eyes open when you walk in the capital. Liang Jun shouted arrogantly. He walked to the bag of money in 2 steps, bent down, and was about to pick it up. Bang! Lai Yunxiao's figure flashed, and Liang Jun's body flew into the air like a kite with a broken string, fiercely falling towards Long Hao's group. Long Hao's pupils shrank, and the few of them hurriedly scattered in all directions. Suddenly, they fell to the ground with a bang. Liang Jun's face was covered with blood and disbelief. He trembled as he said, Big brother, my dantian is shattered. I'm crippled, I'm completely crippled. Long Hao looked at Liang Jun with a face full of disbelief. His mind still couldn't react, and he angrily roared. Brat, you dare to hurt my little brother? The soldiers behind him pulled out their weapons, ready to attack at any time. Meng Wu was also stunned. She didn't expect Lai Yunxiao to cripple him so decisively. Although it was a little cruel, there was an indescribable warmth in her heart, and she also felt a sour pain in her eyes. Lai Yunxiao coldly said, I choose the second option. I'll have to trouble you, brother soldiers, to send me to the prison to play. Die, Long Hao roared. He finally reacted, and his martial warrior cultivation instantly erupted. He pulled out a large sword and slashed down crazily. He was so angry that he directly went berserk. It was really difficult to find a young man in the capital who didn't give him face like this. Moreover, Liang Jun was Jia Rong's disciple, and his dantian had been destroyed in front of him. Not only did he lose a friend with a bright future, but when Jia Rong blamed him, he would probably be beaten up by his father again. Meng Wu's face revealed a worried expression. Although she knew about Lai Yunxiao's background and strength, the other party still had the advantage in numbers. Moreover, they were all genuine imperial guards, and they were all martial warriors who had licked blood from the edge of their blades. Their true combat strength was far stronger than these students who spent their days cultivating in the academy. HMPH, how is this possible? Long Hao's momentum was astonishing, but when he raised his sword and brought it down, there was only a soft, muffled sound. His green moon sword was actually caught by 2 of his opponent's fingers. 2 fingers caught the green moon sword. Everyone was astonished. Lai Yunxiao's lips curled into a smile, and he pinched his fingers lightly, as if he was picking up flowers and admiring the moon. It looked extremely easy, but it was actually a very profound finger technique, pinching a flower with a smile. After a short moment of absent-mindedness, Long Hao came to his senses. He had met an iron plate. No wonder he dared to be so unyielding. He roared, Green Moon Sword, unseal. A muffled sound came from the Green Moon Sword, as if the sword spirit that had been sleeping was gradually awakening. The sword's body pulsed at a high frequency, and a strong killing aura instantly spread out. The treasured sword's appearance also began to change abnormally. Lai Yunxiao frowned, and his 2 fingers felt the changes on the sword's body and immediately shook. Dark weapon? Meng Wu covered her mouth and cried out involuntarily. Her eyes were filled with shock. Dark weapons were weapons used by martial warriors, and they contained boundless power. Only alchemists were able to refine them, and every single one of them was priceless and hard to find. This Green Moon sword of mine was refined using deep-sea cold steel, and was made by the 2nd-rank alchemist master, Lord Liang Wenyu. A cold light suddenly flashed in Long Hao's eyes, and he lovingly caressed his treasured sword. You're the 3rd person to see my sword unsealed. You can be considered to have the fortune of 3 lifetimes under the blood-imbibing saber. Chapter 27. He brandished the saber a few times, and a burst of cold intent spread out in the air. Wherever the saber pointed, it was invincible. A cold light streaked across the sky and once again slashed down at Lai Yunxiao. It's just a level 1 trash Xuan weapon. Use trash for trash, Lai Yunxiao sneered. He took a strange step forward and dodged to the side. His 2 fingers flicked the saber at lightning speed, and a crisp, dang sound rang out. Following that, his feet flashed quickly and his body turned into a series of afterimages. He flashed left and right on both sides of the green dragon saber and flicked the saber's body again and again. A buzzing sound spread out in all directions. Long Hao was shocked. He felt as if the treasured saber in his hand was crying out in pain, and he hurriedly retracted the saber. What's going on? Long Hao was completely dumbfounded. The green moon saber that had just been unsealed had returned to its original appearance and looked exactly like an ordinary weapon. He hurriedly poured his Yuan Kai into the saber and shouted, "Green moon saber, unseal!" After shouting a few times, the treasured saber showed no signs of being unsealed at all. Immediately, cold sweat seeped out from his forehead. Long Hao was on the verge of tears. What's wrong with this treasured saber? Is it crippled? Heavens, I spent all of my family's assets and begged Master Liang Wenyu to create this. Lai Yunxiao crossed his arms in front of his chest and sneered. What other tricks do you have? Use them all and let me see. Wah, kill him for me. Long Hao had gone mad, completely mad. He roared without a care in the world and rushed forward with a group of subordinates. He raised his saber and slashed down. HMPH, a bunch of shrimps, get out of my way. Lai Yunxiao let out a cold shout and turned into a series of afterimages as he charged into the midst of the soldiers. A set of fist techniques was ferocious and dazzling, and he executed them in an extremely illogical manner. Bam! 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 The group of soldiers only felt their vision blur, and in the blink of an eye they were hit by countless fist shadows. Their breastplates all exploded, and a wave of energy directly entered their bodies, sending them flying. Meng Wu was dumbfounded. Lai Yunxiao was like a butterfly dancing in a field of flowers. Bits of vital energy actually turned into fluorescent light and flashed around his body, but not a single piece of his clothes was touched. This is clearly a dance. Is this still a fight? This set of martial arts technique of his was called the 100-flower faulty fist. It was easy to defeat 100 flowers, but difficult to block a wrong character. It was a fist technique created by Emperor Wu, Yuan Shixiao. This Yuan Shixiao had suffered a setback in his life, and his temperament had changed drastically. When he did things, he became crazy. However, his strength was outstanding, and his innate talent was outstanding. He actually blazed a new trail and created this faulty 100 flowers punch. It was aimed at the word wrong. It was unexpected and impossible to defend against. Soon, the soldiers were lying on the ground and howling in pain. The green moon saber in Long Hao's hand was also snatched by Lai Yunxiao. Long Hao's entire arm was directly fractured with a crack, and it drooped on his shoulders. He had completely lost his ability to fight. Although this saber is a bit rubbish, it's still worth some money. I'll take it. Do you have anything good for me, dear? Lai Yunxiao kicked Long Hao's leg bone, and with a crack, the leg bone broke again. Long Hao knelt down with a plop, and with a face full of resentment, he hissed. My father is the commander of the Imperial Guards. How dare you hit me and steal my things? I'll bring people to annihilate your entire family. Annihilate my entire family. Lai Yunxiao's gaze turned cold. Just as he was about to flare up, he suddenly said with a smile, I'm also looking forward to you bringing people to my family. Let's see if you can annihilate them. Suddenly, a soft shout came from afar, who's causing trouble ahead? The voice wasn't loud, but it was shockingly powerful. Everyone heard it clearly, and even their eardrums felt a little pain. That's... Long Hao opened his eyes and looked over. He immediately found a life-saving straw and shouted frantically, Sir Divine Guard. I'm Long Hao, the captain of the City Defense Imperial Guard's 3rd Brigade. Someone is attacking the Imperial Guards here. Please save me, Sir Divine Guard. 2 men rode side by side on the narrow road. The commoners on both sides of the road looked at the badges on their left shoulders, and each of them revealed a look of fear. They quickly made way for them. The badges were made of pure gold, and a long sword and a shield were engraved on it. They represented the kingdom's strongest military organization, the Guardian Divine Guards. Who's so bold? Put down the butcher's knife in your hands and surrender. Huey Ming said in a deep voice, and a superior aura was instantly emitted. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Although Lai Yunxiao looked extraordinary, he only had the cultivation of a 2-star warrior. Long Hao was a 3-star warrior, and he had so many helpers. How could he be defeated? Huey Guang's gaze fell on the green moon saber in Lai Yunxiao's hand. She trembled slightly and shouted, "Brother, take him down." Huey Ming sat upright on the horse and stared coldly at Lai Yunxiao. "Are you going to surrender, or do you want me to do it? If you force me to attack, you'll suffer." Lai Yunxiao revealed a look of disdain. "You don't know right from wrong, and you don't know right from wrong. How do you know that I'm in the wrong?" Huey Ming sneered. "The Imperial Guards are His Majesty's right-hand men. Why would they accuse you? Looks like you won't be honest. I'll put in some effort then." He leaped from the horse's back and approached Lai Yunxiao from the sky like a rock spreading its wings. His movements were extremely fast, and he turned his right palm into a saber and suddenly slashed down. Although Lai Yunxiao had a sneer on his face, he was already on high alert. His opponent was a martial master of 2 realms, which was a whole realm higher than him. Although Lan Xuan was a 9 stars peak martial master, the difference of 1 step was 1,000 miles. He was incomparable to a martial master. However, even Lan Xuan relied on his understanding of the rules and borrowed the power of heaven and earth to win in one move. Otherwise, he would have to pay a huge price even if he could win. HMPH, raising the green moon saber, Lai Yunxiao snorted and slashed with his saber. Instantly, a dazzling golden ray burst out. Huey Ming's expression changed, and he exclaimed, "You're just a 2 stars martial warrior. How can you have such a saber ray? This is a dark weapon." After he recognized the green moon saber, he didn't dare to fight against a dark weapon with his palm. He quickly retracted his arm and pushed out with both fists. A wave of vitality came crashing down like rolling waves and swallowed the saber ray. Boom! Lai Yunxiao felt the rebound of the force on the saber. He took a step back with his right foot, dispelled the force, and stood with his saber in front of him. Huey Ming landed 10 meters away from him, and a look of pleasant surprise flashed across his eyes. He said coldly, "No wonder you can commit murder on the streets. So you're relying on your dark weapon. However, now that you've met us brothers, your viciousness has come to an end." "Come to an end, your sister?" Lai Yunxiao suddenly roared. Taking advantage of the time when Huey Ming was talking nonsense, the saber ray flashed and ruthlessly slashed through the air. An ear-piercing sound pierced through the air, and a golden ray actually flashed through the air. There was a great disparity in strength between the two of them. Lai Yunxiao had already calculated in his heart that he had to take the initiative. Otherwise, if he became passive, the other party could crush him with just the difference in strength. Huey Ming glared at him. He didn't expect the other party to take the initiative to attack. He was so angry that he laughed and said, "Good, good, you're courting death?" He suddenly drew a bronze-colored longsword from his body and ruthlessly slashed out. 2 golden rays clashed in the air, dazzling and gorgeous. Shifting shadows, devil's wind kick. Lai Yunxiao suddenly turned into several afterimages. His real body bent down and spun half a circle. His right leg was as fast as lightning, and he kicked out fiercely from an angle that was difficult to dodge. A fire was slowly ignited under his feet, and even the air was burning. Huey Ming was shocked. Originally, Lai Yunxiao's afterimages were confused. By the time he realized that the kick was coming, he was already unable to guard against it. His body abruptly shrunk, and he rapidly retreated a few meters like a fallen leaf before he could stabilize his body. Unseal. Lai Yunxiao's attack was successful. After a light shout, he pressed forward. The green moon saber in his hand let out a dull roar, as if a sleeping lion had suddenly awakened. A huge force encircled the saber's body and spread out. The saber ray was like water, and a cold air soared into the sky as it slashed towards Huey Ming's head. All his moves, from the sudden attack, to the shifting shadows, to the devil's wind kick, to the unsealing of the treasured saber, were all executed in one go, like moving clouds and flowing water without a single pause. In his previous life, as Emperor Wu, who was at the peak of the Jiushan realm, Lai Yunxiao basically had a certain understanding of the hundreds of styles of martial arts. He could also master them and draw inferences about other things from one instance. Those low-grade martial skills were even more easily grasped. With a thought, he could use them as he wished. He also knew that when facing Hui Ming, whose strength far surpassed his, he could only rely on his rich battle experience and rich martial arts skills to catch his opponent off guard. Otherwise, with the difference in strength, as long as his opponent stood firm, he could defeat him in one move. However, the continuous surprise attacks had already caused Hui Ming to be somewhat dumbfounded. Long Hao, who was at the side, was completely dumbfounded. Only now did he realize that there was such a huge difference in strength between him and his opponent. He was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. However, what he could not understand was why the treasured saber that he could not unseal was easily unsealed by his opponent, and it seemed to be even more powerful. Unseal. Hui Ming was at a loss for what to do. Under the shock, a huge anger and murderous intent flashed in his eyes. A mere two-star warrior actually forced him into a desperate situation. With an angry roar, the bronze longsword in his hand shone brightly and slashed across the sky. Just as his dark weapon was unsealed, Lai Yunxiao's treasured saber slashed down. Clang! The two weapons collided violently. The longsword that had just been unsealed was forced back by this saber for some reason, returning to its ordinary state. Meanwhile, Lai Yunxiao's treasured saber was still dazzling as he raised it and slashed down again. Danger on horseback. Glow's expression changed drastically. As a bystander, he immediately realized that the situation was not right. Although he did not understand why Hui Ming was being suppressed by his opponent with such a huge difference in strength. However, the power of that saber seemed to contain an extremely powerful martial arts technique. He could not care less about his identity and reputation. He hurriedly stepped on the saddle, swung his long sword, and stabbed at Lai Yunxiao. Hiss! The sword pierced through his body, and Lai Yunxiao's figure began to distort, turning into light and dissipating. Afterimage, when did he? Glow was shocked, but Hui Ming's crisis was resolved, and she immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Idiot, I did this to lure you down. Let's die together. Lai Yunxiao's voice suddenly shouted, and the aura around him rose to the extreme. He was like a god of death. The green moon saber in his hand glowed, sucking in the surrounding vitality of heaven and earth. Moon-breaking sky slash, Chapter 28. What? He actually lured me down just now and wants to kill both of us in one fell swoop. Glow's brain short-circuited and could not understand at all. Forget that a two-star warrior didn't try to escape upon seeing them, he actually wanted to kill them. Haha, isn't this too much of a joke? Just when he felt that it was absurd, a sense of impending death surged up. Bang! He really wants to kill us. A golden ray lit up half of the sky. He instantly believed it and shouted, "Telepathy, two as one." Glow and Radiance were brothers, and the martial arts technique they cultivated was a rare joint attack technique. They had to be telepathic, and only brothers could cultivate it more easily than ordinary people. Usually, the two of them were inseparable, and this was also to strengthen their telepathy. At the moment of danger, the two of them displayed their most instinctive power. Their figures seemed to overlap in an instant. 4 fists punched out like 2 palms, and a shocking force exploded toward the horrifying blade. Lai Yunxiao's pupils constricted. Everything had been planned out, but he did not expect the other party to have a joint attack technique. He smiled bitterly in his heart. He was going to lose. Boom! When the two forces collided, the green moon saber let out a mournful cry. Its light suddenly dimmed, and it fell to the ground in its normal form. Lai Yunxiao was sent flying by the force, and blood splattered in the air. It was a shocking sight to see, and he fell hard at the corner of the street. Silence. Meng Wu watched the entire process and was shocked. Not only did Lai Yunxiao display his strength to force the two guardian divine guards to make a move, but she also seemed to be in a trance just now. It seemed that when Lai Yunxiao was sent flying, he actually turned around and smiled at her, telling her to escape. Although there was no sound, his voice indeed echoed in her mind. Escape? What exactly is going on? Meng Wu looked at Lai Yunxiao, who was covered in blood at the corner of the street, and her legs could not move no matter what. However, she only froze for a moment before she came to her senses. She must escape and go back to get reinforcements. The word escape once again appeared in her mind, and her eyes suddenly flashed with a resolute look. She suddenly rose from the ground and ran toward the academy. Ah, that chick ran away. Catch him. Long Hao was startled, and he shouted. However, he suddenly realized that no one responded. The soldiers were all lying on the ground, injured. The Glow and Glow brothers weren't people he could command at all. Glow looked at Lai Yunxiao, who was lying motionless at the corner of the street with a complicated expression. Her heart was in turmoil. A two-star warrior was actually able to force the two brothers to use their joint martial skill. This was something that they would never have believed in the past. Even now, he still felt a little dazed. He walked to the front of the green moon treasured saber and made a grabbing motion with his 5 fingers. The treasured saber instantly flew into his palm. He examined it carefully. Although it was damaged, it was still mostly intact. Ah, sir, this green moon saber. Long Hao hurriedly walked over with beads of sweat on his forehead. He wanted to take the saber back. Glow's eyes flashed. She kept the sword into her storage ring and interrupted. Captain Lung, we've captured the criminal for you. We won't disturb you any further. He and Huaiming got on their horses and were about to leave. Long Hao was extremely anxious. This blade was something that he had spent all of his fortune on. Furthermore, he had used his father's connections to get Grandmaster Liang Wenyu to personally forge it for him. My lords, that blade. Goodbye, Captain Lung, there's no need to send me off. Glow's voice was like a great bell, interrupting him again. He turned around and left. Yao Ming's eyes revealed a hint of mockery as he chased after Glow. Ah, Tilda, oh my God, my dark weapon saber, Tilda. Long Hao felt that the sky had turned dark. You bunch of pigs, get up, get up. He roared and kicked the injured soldiers. Bring this brat back. He made me lose my treasured saber. I'll make him regret coming to this world. Meng Wu ran crazily on the street. There was only one thought in her mind. Save him, quickly find someone to save him. She couldn't get rid of Lai Yunxiao's figure in her mind. Wherever she went, it was all his shadow. Thinking of the last scene of blood on the street, her heart ached as if it was stabbed by a sharp knife. I must find someone to save him. She ran crazily for a while before she calmed down. She realized that she didn't know where she was. Suddenly, she saw a huge courtyard in front of her. There were even soldiers guarding the entrance. She was shocked and carefully walked over. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she was overjoyed. It's actually the Lai residence. He's the eldest son of the Lai family. I found the Lai residence. I'll be saved. In the Lai residence, a man in luxurious clothes was admiring a sword in the courtyard. He murmured in praise. It's indeed a second-grade profound weapon. It's just a sealed state, and it's already emitting such powerful energy. If it's unsealed, it'll be even more unimaginable. Just as he was feeling pleased with himself, he suddenly saw a servant running towards the inner hall. He frowned and shouted, 9527, where are you going? 9527 was the servant's serial number. The Lai residence was simply too big. In order to make it easier to manage the servants, they erased their original names and replaced them with numbers. Unless they were outstanding and received the master's appreciation, they would be given a name. 9527 was a lowly servant's serial number. When 9527 saw the man, it hurriedly bowed and said humbly, Young Master Yi, there's a woman outside. She said that young Master Yunxiao has been captured by the Imperial Guards. She asked me to inform Old Master to save him. Ching! Tilda the artifact sword flashed and returned to its sheath. The entire courtyard seemed to darken. Lai Yi revealed a curious expression and said softly, Isn't that trash messing around in school? Why would he have a conflict with the Imperial Guards? 9527 hurriedly shook its head and said, I don't know. Lai Yi flashed a look of contempt and snorted, a trash, so what if he's captured? What does it matter? Go and tell the woman that old master already knows. Tell her not to worry. Yes. 9527 hurriedly nodded and jogged away. He actually dared to fabricate old master's words. Moreover, he was so indifferent towards the life and death of the Lai family's eldest son. 9527 didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Instead, it acted as if it was a matter of course and jogged to reply. Lai Yi took out his artifact sword again and revealed a look of admiration. It was as if nothing had happened. Meng Wu anxiously paced back and forth in front of the door. She quickly received the news and relaxed her worried heart. She seemed to still be worried and carefully asked, When are you going to save him? 9527 shook its head and pointed to the sky. This is the matter of the higher-ups. As servants, how would we know? Old Master said that you don't have to worry. Meng Wu naturally knew that the so-called Old Master was the #1 figure in the Tianshui nation's military, Lai Chunyang, who was conferred the title of Duke of Tranquility. Below the king, the 6 most powerful and prestigious people were the Divine Guard Commander Xiao Qingwang, the Dean of Jiren Academy, Zhang Lishan, the President of the Alchemists Guild, Zhu Han, the Chief Alchemist of the Royal Court, Zhang Qingfen, the First Elder of the Imperial Army, Lai Chunyang, and the First Minister of Civil Affairs, Lan Hong. The first 4 almost never paid attention to the affairs of the nation. Therefore, almost all the nobles in the current court were attached to the opposing camps of Lai Chunyang and Lan Hong. Since Lai Chunyang said that she didn't have to worry, Meng Wu should be relieved. However, she couldn't relax no matter what. Instead, she felt more and more depressed. She silently walked alone on the street, heading towards the academy. When Lai Yunxiao woke up, he found himself in a pitch-black prison. The meridians in his hands and feet were all severed, and he couldn't use any strength. He was slightly surprised to find that he was not the only one in the cell. More than a dozen pairs of black eyes were staring at him. Ah, tilde. He was startled and jumped up from the ground. Those pairs of lifeless and despairing eyes were extremely frightening. Where is this? Brat, you're awake? A skinny old man said in a hoarse voice. He, this is the Long Clan's dungeon. Brat, you really have guts. I heard from the guards that you seem to have broken the Long Clan's young master's arms. Only then did Lai Yunxiao slowly come to his senses. He asked curiously, The Long Clan's dungeon? Isn't that the capital's dungeon? The old man glared at him. The capital's dungeon. That's where the imperial court's most important criminals are locked up. Who do you think you are? This is the Long Clan's private dungeon. Private dungeon? HMPH, the Long Clan is really bold. They actually dare to set up a private dungeon. Lai Yunxiao said coldly. When I get out, I'll report them directly. Get out. Report them. The old man suddenly burst into laughter. He seemed to be laughing too hard, and he started coughing. Cough, cough, you're too funny. You broke the Long Clan's young master's arms, and you still want to get out. When I was young, probably around your age, I passed by the Long Clan's gate once and spat randomly. I was captured and locked up until now. Sigh, who knows how many years have passed. Lai Yunxiao glanced at the old man. Although the prison was dark, he could see clearly that the old man's face was wrinkled like pine bark. His hair was white at the temples. No matter what, he was at least 70 or 80 years old. The old man's laughter stopped. He pointed at a middle-aged man who was squatting beside him and said, When he was 8 years old, he followed his father into the city to sell vegetables. He accidentally glanced at a servant girl from the Long Clan a few times and was caught. He's already 48 years old now. 40 years. That servant girl has already become an old woman. Cold sweat seeped out of Lai Yunxiao's forehead. Wasn't this Long Clan too lawless? He comforted him. Don't worry, old man, I'll definitely get out. When the time comes, I'll let everyone out. The old man obviously didn't believe him. He shook his head and said, Young man, stop dreaming. Just stay here peacefully. But fortunately, there's a meal to eat every day, even though it's all moldy food. The long period of imprisonment had already caused this group of people to completely lose hope in life. Lai Yunxiao didn't explain anymore. He placed his right palm on the ground, bent his left hand and right foot upwards, forming a circle, and closed his eyes to focus. Chapter 29. He was displaying the young girl pose of the tyrannical body refining art, a pose that could quickly restore bodily functions. His main meridians were broken, and he could barely support his body to display it. His whole body was trembling violently, and his face was ashen, but his eyes were like the stars and the moon and did not change for a long time. His strange movements quickly attracted everyone's attention, and after a moment of shock, there was a burst of sighs, followed by a deathly silence. Lai Yunxiao gritted his teeth, and a trace of power overflowed from his dantian. It did not follow the circulation of Kai, but under this wonderful pose, it began to flow into the broken main meridians in a unique way, and slowly began to repair. The tyrannical body refining art was a first-class physical cultivation method in the world, and the various postures in it covered all the methods of physical cultivation. Even if the dantian was broken, the body could directly become a sage and step into the Jiyushan Emperor realm. As soon as the young girl pose was displayed, the injuries in his body began to rapidly repair themselves, and Lai Yunxiao's trembling body slowly calmed down, and a unique aura gradually spread out from his body. Just when Lai Yunxiao was captured, Jia Rong had already informed Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han that he had the golden needle acupuncture method and could save Princess Ruxu. Zhang Qingfen and Zhu Han were shocked, but seeing Jia Rong's solemn vow, and considering that there was no other way, they also decided to use the same pose. As for the list of materials given by Jia Rong, the two were also extremely suspicious, but Jia Rong insisted that he must gather the materials and did not answer any other questions, so the two could not do anything. But if it could really save the princess, these materials were nothing. Soon, the materials were directly transferred from the National Treasury to Jia Rong, but something happened that made Jia Rong's heart start to tremble. Lai Yunxiao was missing. Luo, Lord Luo, this matter is not a joke. Lai Yunxiao is really missing. Jia Rong only felt cold all over and sweat was dripping down. Luo Yunshang sternly said, "Yes, I looked all over the academy and even asked a few people who are close to him, but I did not see him. Grandmaster Jia, please find another assistant. Her Highness's illness cannot be delayed any longer." Zhu Han also said in a low voice, "The potency of that medicine is getting weaker and weaker. We have already increased the dosage by 3 times every day, but it still can't suppress the illness. If this drags on, I'm afraid that the princess," Zhang Qingfen also said solemnly. "That's right, we can't delay any longer. Isn't it just an assistant? As long as I can save the princess, I don't mind being your assistant. How could a hedonistic young master understand these things? If you want to teach a disciple, you can teach him slowly in the future. There's no time to wait for him now." Jia Rong slumped to the ground. The chief royal arcane master actually said he wanted to be his assistant. He only felt that his chest was extremely stuffy and he couldn't breathe at all. Bean-sized beads of sweat directly soaked his entire body. When he couldn't hold it any longer, he had no choice but to tell the truth in detail. Silence. The room was eerily silent. Bang. Zhang Qingfen slammed his palm on the stone table, and it immediately shattered into pieces. Broken stones flew in all directions. He roared in rage. "Jia Rong, how dare you treat the princess's life as a joke?" Zhu Han's face also darkened as he angrily said, "Jia Rong, how could you do such an ignorant thing? A famous hedonistic trash actually played you around. You actually believed that a teenage hedonistic young master could perform acupuncture with golden needles. You're pissing me off." Zhang Qingfen's face turned ashen as he roared, "Put Jia Rong in prison and directly execute him after this." Jia Rong's eyes darkened as he heard this and almost fainted. Although his status was extremely high, who was the other party? The chief royal arcane master could kill him with just a word. Master Zhang, believe in young Master Yun. He can definitely save the princess." Jia Rong desperately hugged Zhang Qingfen's leg and cried. Scram! Zhang Qingfen's rage reached its peak. He kicked Jia Rong's chest and sent him flying. Do you know how big of a sin you have committed? If not for you saying that you could perform acupuncture with golden needles, I would have already brought people to the rank 4 Arcane Master Guild to ask for help. Now, the medicine can no longer control the princess' injuries. It's already too late to ask for help. Tell me, don't you deserve to die? Jia Rong fell to the ground and spat out a large mouthful of blood. He wanted to speak, but several pieces of shattered organs were stuck in his throat. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't speak. How am I supposed to explain this to His Majesty? Zhang Qingfen was about to leave when Luo Yunshang suddenly stopped him and said, Master Zhang, please wait. Zhang Qingfen snapped. What else is there? It's all you're doing. That Lai Yunxiao is your student, right? Wait until I report this to His Majesty. You won't be able to escape responsibility. After listening to Jia Rong's words, Luo Yunshang remained silent apart from extreme shock. She slowly said, I was able to become an arcane master this time because of Lai Yunxiao's intentional or unintentional pointers. Zhang Qingfen froze for a moment, then sneered. It's normal to have unintentional inspiration. Don't tell me you also believe that kid can perform acupuncture with golden needles. Luo Yunshang shook her head. I don't know if he can perform acupuncture with golden needles or not, but he defeated the Prime Minister's grandson, Lan Xuan, in one move during the student competition not long ago. So what? Zhang Qingfen felt that his patience was reaching its limit. If the other party wasn't the commander of the Guardian Divine Guard, he would have already exploded. Zhu Han suddenly said, Huh, how is that possible? Isn't that kid rumored to be unable to cultivate because his meridians are blocked? I remember that Lan Xuan is one of the top students in Jia Lan Academy, right? Luo Yunshang then said with a serious expression, That's right. Not only did he open all his meridians, but he also used the floating life seal to defeat Lan Xuan. Floating life seal. Zhang Qingfen's expression changed, and he said in shock, Floating life seal, could it be that he's Yang Dai's disciple? Luo Yunshang shook her head. I don't know about that. If he really is Yang Dai's disciple, then it's possible that he can perform acupuncture with golden needles. Zhu Han looked at Jia Rong, who was vomiting blood on the ground, and said seriously, Liang Wenyu told me about this kid's physical condition. He said that many hidden meridians have been destroyed, and it's impossible to reconnect them. Now he can actually defeat Lan Xuan and use the floating life seal. Zhang Qingfen's expression gradually turned cold. After a moment of silence, his eyes burst with light, and he said in a low voice, Mobilize all the forces that can be mobilized. Even if we have to dig 3 feet underground, we have to find Lai Yunxiao in the shortest time possible. In a bar near Jia Lan Academy, the customers here were basically all students. Roland Duo was savoring a drink called Moonlight's Kiss. This drink was very magical, and its color could reflect a person's mood. When you were happy, it would be blue, and when you were unhappy, it would turn black. Now, Roland Duo found that the Moonlight's Kiss in her hand was slowly turning black. Yu Hezheng did not notice the change in her mood and kept talking. Roland Duo, believe me, it's true. Right now, the whole academy is talking about the fight that day. If you didn't see it, you really wouldn't believe it. Forget Lin Yu, even Bai Cheng Feng wouldn't be a match for one of his moves. Dang, a cup of pure black Moonlight's Kiss slammed on the table. Roland Duo threw out a few silver coins and shouted, Bill! She looked coldly at the cup on the table and her pupils constricted. Senior Yu, I've told you many times, I don't want to listen to what you're saying. Also, don't bother me in the future. I'm currently stuck at a bottleneck and I'll be in seclusion for the next few days. Goodbye. She ignored Yu Hezheng's attempts to stop her and left the bar alone without looking back. F***CK, mother F***CK, why are you pretending to be pure? Yu Hezheng angrily gulped down his strong liquor and angrily cursed. A whore that Lin Yu has played with so many times actually dares to pretend to be pure in front of me every day. I've chased after her for so long, and she didn't even let me touch her. Mother F***CK? Hello, sir. Would you like some of this purple love story? A pleasant voice sounded. Meng Wu glanced at Yu Hezheng's empty cup and tried her best to promote her liquor and said, "Perhaps it's to your liking." "HM?" Yu Hezheng looked at Meng Wu, and a strange expression flashed across his face. He laughed and said, "Where have we met before? Oh, right, you're also a student of the beginner class, right? I remember all the beauties in the beginner class. Oh, right, you're Meng Wu." Yu Hezheng remembered her name and immediately became happy. "My name is Yu Hezheng, you can call me Senior Yu." "Oh, right, why are you selling liquor here?" Tusk, isn't it too wasteful to sell liquor?" He stared at Meng Wu's beautiful face and couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva, and his voice was very loud. A trace of disgust flashed across Meng Wu's eyes, and she forcefully suppressed her disgust. She smiled and said, "Senior Yu, then do you want a cup? Love story, it's only 6 silver coins a cup." Yu Hezheng played with the empty cup in his hand and laughed. "Love story? 6 silver coins. Haha, F***Seeking love story, it's so cheap. Meng Wu, you're so beautiful, don't do such things here. Be my girlfriend, and I'll give you 100 gold coins every month. How about it?" He touched Meng Wu's face with his hand. "Pa!" Meng Wu was furious, and she slapped his hand away. She coldly said, "Senior Yu, please behave yourself." She was so angry that she wanted to leave. "You want to leave?" Yu Hezheng had been provoked by Roland Duo, and he had drunk a few mouthfuls of liquor. Now that he saw a liquor seller daring to reject him, his anger immediately surged, and he roared. "Stop right there. I want you today, and you dare to not comply." His voice was very loud, and it immediately stunned everyone in the bar. They all turned their heads to look at him. Meng Wu's mind went blank. There was actually such a shameless person. Not only did he tease a girl in public, but he also did it in such a loud and confident manner. She was so angry that her whole body was trembling, and she didn't know what to say. "Sai, let's go in and have a few drinks." After searching for half a day, there was no news at all. "I really don't know where young Master Yun went to." Chen Zhen and Han Bai walked in from the door, and both of them were stunned. Chen Zhen asked in surprise, "What's going on? Why is it so quiet? Isn't this a bar? Did we come to the wrong place?" Chapter 30. Han Bai also immediately saw Yu Hezheng and Meng Wu. He immediately shouted, "Hey, look over there. Isn't that Roland Duo's follower? And that girl, wow, it's the one who framed young Master Yun that day." Chen Zhen also abruptly jumped up and strode over. F***CK. "I originally thought it was that bastard Lan Fei who framed young Master Yun, but it turns out it was you." Yu Hezheng's expression changed. He angrily said, "Who are you two? I don't know you." He scanned the two with his divine sense and discovered that they were extremely weak. He immediately relaxed and coldly shouted, "I'll count to 3 and you'll scram." Han Bai coldly laughed. "What arrogance. You don't know who we are, but you should know young Master Yun, right? Roland Duo is young Master Yun's woman, and you dare to chase after her. Are you tired of living?" Yu Hezheng's heart jumped. They were actually Lai Yunxiao's men. He might have disdained this silkprince in the past, but he no longer had the guts to do so. Chen Zhen even slammed his palm on the table and shouted, "I didn't bother with you, but that doesn't mean I won't. This isn't the academy. Do you believe that I won't call a group of people to kill you?" Yu Hezheng's expression changed several times. He knew that the people around Lai Yunxiao were all disciples of the kingdom's military. Now that they were not in the academy, this group of silkprints could do anything in the capital. He purposely revealed a disdainful expression and loudly said, "Senior, I don't have time to mess around with you silkprints. I'm going back to cultivate. I don't know this girl either, so don't even think about framing me." He raised his head high and swaggered out of the bar. TCH, if it weren't for the fact that everyone is out looking for her, this pretentious bastard would be leaving on his knees today. Chen Zhen revealed a look of disdain. Han Bai waved his hand. "Don't bother with this trash. Do you think something happened to young Master Yun?" The Alchemist Guild and the Divine Guards of the Kingdom have all been mobilized. Even an ant in the capital should have been found. Chen Zhen frowned and sighed. "Who knows? Young Master Yun has changed too much during this period of time. I'm not used to it." He suddenly noticed that Meng Wu was still standing off to the side. He coldly said, "Why aren't you scramming yet? Could it be that you want to accompany us for a while?" Meng Wu blushed and gritted her teeth. The young Master Yun you were talking about just now, is he Lai Yung Xiao? Chen Zhen said angrily, it's all because of young Master Yun who was framed by you. F***CK, don't tell me he died because of you this time. Meng Wu was stunned. She muttered to herself, how could this be? 3 days have passed. Could it be that the Lai family still hasn't rescued him? What? Han Bai was startled. Hastily jumping up from his chair, he grabbed her and said in shock, what did you just say? What do you know? Meng Wu was anxious. She stammered a few words before she told him everything that had happened that day. Han Bai and Chen Zhen looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with shock and anxiety. Chen Zhen said angrily, why didn't you tell us about such an important matter earlier? Meng Wu was so anxious that she almost cried. I've already gone to the Lai family to inform them. The Lai family's eldest master even told me not to worry. Han Bai's expression darkened. He shouted, you met Duke Jing? Meng Wu shook her head and said in tears, no, it was their servants who reported it. No wonder. Chen Zhen stomped his foot. This is troublesome. Let's hurry and bring people to save him. Han Bai grabbed him. Wait a minute. The Long family is in charge of the Imperial Guards and is personally managed by His Majesty. If we rashly bring people to save him, we'll be committing a grave crime. Chen Zhen said anxiously, then what should we do? We can't count on Duke Jing anymore. Han Bai said calmly, it's already been 3 days. There's no need to rush. Inform Master Zhang and Teacher Luo immediately. With them around, even the Imperial Guards will have to retreat. That's right. I was so anxious that I forgot about that. Chen Zhen slapped his forehead and rushed out of the bar to inform them. Han Bai calmly looked at the dazed Meng Wu. You can't escape responsibility for this matter. Come with me first. The entire bar seemed to smell the scent of gossip. After they left, there was an uproar and everyone started gossiping. The Long family. The 14-year-old Long Ran was practicing the tiger-taming fist 1 punch at a time. This set of martial arts techniques was suitable for all ferocious martial artists to practice. Although he was young, there was a faint tiger's roar under each punch. Dad, you're back. Long Ran suddenly stopped. When he saw a middle-aged man walking in from the main door, he ran over happily. He ran your tiger-taming fist has improved again. Long King laughed. You're much more diligent than your good-for-nothing brother. You'll definitely become someone great in the future. Long Ran said modestly. My brother has been a 3-star martial artist for a long time. I'm still far from that. Dad, why don't you look happy? Is something on your mind? Long King frowned, then smiled and said, you can see that too. Recently, the entire capital has been looking for a young man, but they haven't found him for 3 days. As the commander of the Imperial Guards, I'm naturally under a lot of pressure. Long Ran asked curiously, who is it? Why is everyone looking for him? Long King sighed. The eldest grandson of Duke Jing, a hedonistic son of rich parents. I don't know why Dad is looking for him. By the way, where did your brother go? Long Ran said, brother went to the dungeon. That kid crippled my hand last time. It was only reattached a few days ago. Once my arm recovered, I went to look for that person. I said I'll make him regret coming to this world. HMPH, Long King revealed a trace of anger. He's always idling around. As the captain of the Imperial Guards, he actually got his hands crippled. What a waste. Long Ran suddenly said, Dad, that person was also caught by my brother 3 days ago. He seems to be a young man. Could he be the young master of the Lai family you're looking for? Long King was suddenly stunned. He suddenly shouted, Long Xin, Long Xin. A person who looked like a housekeeper immediately trotted over. Master, what's the matter? Long King's face was incomparably gloomy. He shouted coldly, what's the name of the young man that Hao brought back 3 days ago? Long Xin was stunned. He carefully recalled. I think he's called Yun something. Phew, scared me to death. Long King patted his chest and heaved a heavy sigh of relief. He waved his hand and said, so his surname is Yun. It's fine now. You can leave. Long Xin said, oh. He turned and was about to leave when he suddenly said, oh, I remember now. His surname is not Yun. His name is Yung Xiao. His surname is Lai Yung Xiao. Silence. The courtyard was silent. Only the rustling of leaves could be heard in the cold wind. Long King suddenly felt very cold. Long Ran was stunned. "Dad, is it this person?" Long King was stunned. His mind was buzzing. Beads of sweat began to roll down his forehead. He thought of His Majesty's gloomy face, Master Zhang Qingfan's furious gaze, and Master Zhu Han. Although he was the commander of the Imperial Guards and had a high status, compared to these people, he was basically an ant-like existence. Heavens, he had mobilized all the city guards and searched for 3 days and 3 nights without rest, but the person he was looking for was actually locked up in his own dungeon. Moreover, this person was the eldest grandson of Duke Jing, the son of General Fei Long. Long Ran suddenly whispered, "It's already been 3 days. Brother wouldn't have killed him, right?" Boom! These words exploded in Long King's mind like a sudden clap of thunder. His entire body was shaken to the point of numbness. He felt that his mind was in a trance and was on the verge of collapsing. "Ah!" Tilda suddenly, a blood-curdling scream came from outside. There was a commotion outside, and a few servants hurriedly ran inside while shouting, "Oh no, someone has barged into the Long residence. Someone, come quickly!" Long King was feeling a chill in his heart. When he heard that someone had barged into the Long residence, he was even more furious. All the gloomy Kai instantly turned into a wave of primary force. He opened his mouth and a sound wave spread out. The lion's roar suddenly shot up into the sky. He was full of energy. With a roar, the entire Long residence shook. "Who dares to barge into my Long residence? How dare you?" The lion roared angrily, and all the beasts were frightened. Long King's strength was undoubtedly revealed at this moment. To be able to become the commander of the Imperial Guards, he himself was a great martial master of the 3 talents realm. Although everyone in the Long residence was shaken to the point that their eardrums hurt, they all calmed down. Since the master had made a move, then the Long residence was safe. The intruder must be killed. Just as everyone was calming down, a voice that was even more powerful than the lion's roar came from the sky. The sound wave was forcefully condensed into a single line by someone using vital Kai. It suddenly rushed into the residence and exploded. A huge sound wave spread out from the small courtyard. Everyone's eardrums were shaken to the point that they instantly went deaf. Many of the servants even bled and fell to the ground in pain with a splitting headache. The divine guards of the kingdom have been ordered by Commander Luo Yunshang and Master Zhang Qingfan to temporarily take over the Long residence. Anyone who resists will be sentenced to death for treason. The divine guards of the kingdom. They are actually from the divine guards of the kingdom. Everyone in the Long residence was dumbfounded. They looked around in confusion. How can it be the divine guards of the kingdom? Aren't we the imperial guards of the kingdom? Aren't we brothers and sisters with the divine guards of the kingdom? Long King was shocked. Very quickly, a chill ran down his spine. His heart was filled with sorrow. How could they arrive so quickly? In a few blinks of an eye, more than 10 martial artists dressed in different clothes appeared in the courtyard. All of them had lazy expressions, but they were all staring at him with cold eyes. They were the 4th divine guard led by Luo Yunshang. Long King used his divine sense to scan the area. They were all martial masters. Each of them had badges on their shoulders. They were indeed the divine guards of the kingdom. At this moment, a group of people directly strode in from the main door. The person in the lead was Zhang Qingfan. Behind him were Luo Yunshang, Zhu Han, Jia Rong, and other people from the Alchemists' Guild. Long King almost fainted. He suppressed the sorrow in his heart and hurriedly went forward to welcome them. "Master Zhang, Master Zhu, Master Luo, what is the meaning of this?" Zhang Qingfan cupped his fists and said coldly, "Master Long, please excuse me." Chen Zhen immediately came out from behind and said angrily, "Master Long, young Master Yun is being held captive in your Long residence. No wonder the entire capital couldn't find him after searching for 3 days. So he was captured by you." Long King felt a chill in his heart. He was almost certain that it was his eldest son who had captured Lai Yunxiao. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and still wanted to argue. "Why do you say that?" He wished he could capture Long Hao and beat him up.